What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome to From the Forum, the Q&A show brought to you by FantasySportsAdvice.com. Glad to be here tonight. It is torrential downpours. It is massive hurricane trauma. I read that there is not a roadway into Asheville, North Carolina right now because of everything going on. And Gina, you're not in North Carolina, but you're over in the
No, I am in North Carolina.
You're in North Carolina. For some reason I was thinking South Carolina.
Yeah.
It would have been worse.
I'm about 2 hours from Asheville. It was nasty this morning, but luckily we didn't have it as bad. But the mountains are obliterated right now, like total devastation. And 911 is down. They have no communication. There's like emergency crews are trapped. It's very bad, like very bad. Boone, Asheville, Black Mountain. They had 2 dams that let go and just devastated the area. I've never seen floods like that in North Carolina in my entire life. I don't think they've ever seen it either. It's bad. So, hopefully.
Well, Brian, you're on the East Coast. You're in Virginia Beach. Are you guys seeing any of it?
Oh, yeah. I was out walking my dog earlier, and it started sprinkling. Like, what the hell? Like, my hair was going to get wet. My shirt was, like, a little damp. It's rough out here for all of us, folks, you know? Like, we're next in line for FEMA.
Sounds terrible.
Leave it to Brian for the sarcasm. Hey, guys, welcome to the show. Your sarcasm will be right down here in the form of this guy. But no, thanks for tuning in. Crazy week of football. We're already getting started. We had Dallas Giants last night. Congratulations to the Giants for finding a kicker. That's the only thing that kept them in the game. But it was Biggs. What did you think of the game last night? What was your takeaway?
I was kind of disappointed in the way that the Dallas Cowboys offense played better than they had the couple weeks before. I was looking for a Giants upset that never materialized. But if you were watching the game, I thought Devin Singletary was going to have a better game. But Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson are for real, and Daniel Jones is still underrated as a quarterback. On the Cowboys side, it's Rico Dowdle's season, for better or worse, and they got to get CD more involved.
So you said Rico Dowdle, and I watched y'all's show last night, and I saw a question pop in, and they were talking about Zeke versus Dowdle. And, I will say this. I looked at the beginning of the season when I saw Zeke run the ball, he looked like he was moving better than he was last year. Like he looked decent, and so I'm sitting there watching the game, and Dowdle's not really being effective. What was his average yards per carry last night?
I don't know, but
46, so less than 4 a clip.
But Zeke ran off a couple of 6-7 yard chunk plays. He didn't look terrible, but Dowdle got the touchdown. So when we were asked that question and we said you're starting Dowdle, we were right. We nailed it.
Oh no, you were. You nailed the question. I was just curious, like. Are we out on Zeke? Like, is he gone? Is he not effective anymore? Do the Cowboys just not believe in him? Because he definitely doesn't look like a slot,
Yeah, he looked okay. I think at this point it's just Mike McCarthy doesn't have faith in him, and he's good as a spellback, and that's fine. I mean, that's not rosterable in fantasy, but as far as the Cowboys are concerned, he should be okay.
All right. So this is From the Forum. This is a Q&A show sponsored by FantasySportsAdvice.com. And, during this show, I've got a great host of a great crew here tonight. I'm going to let them go around and introduce themselves real quick. But we are here to answer your questions, to help you with your start and sits, to help you get some analysis on those trades that you're debating on, because it's week 4 and we're doing it. We're talking about it. We're all itching to make some kind of move that's going to change the season for us, especially those who finished in the bottom 10 of the Scott Fish poll this last week. Can't trade in,
6 from the bottom, baby. You got to try. If it was golf, I'd be in the money.
Anyway, so we're gonna go around. Biggs, we'll start with you and go clockwise. Just introduce yourself, tell them where they can find your work, and then we're gonna kick this thing off.
All right. You can find me on Twitter at BigBonedFFB, BIGBONEDEDFFB. But it's more fun to type Jameer Biggs into the search engine on Twitter and find me there. I have a couple little side hustles over on Player Profiler News, The Undroppables. I do some content, but you can find me on the Fantasy Sports Advice Network, specifically Fantasy Football Advice Network, 5 times a week. I got the Points After Thursday show, TNF. After TNF Live with Greinberg and Schultze. We have a waiver wire show that drops Tuesdays. We have an injury show with our boy Marcus Gailey that drops Fridays, and then Breakfast with Biggs Sunday mornings. Come hang out. I'll answer your last minute start sits questions. That's live on Fantasy Football Advice Network on YouTube.
Gina?
Me. Yeah, I'm a little bit of a fantasy football gypsy, if you will. I show up here, there, and everywhere. I might even do some box balling for you. But you can find me on the X at NobleG_FF. And yeah, Tyler pulled me in from bed tonight to get on the show and give you my worst fantasy advice, because I'm going to tell you, I'm struggling this year. So you take anything I say with a grain of salt, like the tiniest. So yeah, I'm right there with Biggs, with Scott Fishbowl. In fact, I got to look it up because now I'm curious. I haven't looked at my ranking this year, but I'll tell you, last year I was on a high, and this year I am on the lowest of lows. So I hear you.
It's ugly.
It's so bad.
I am Brian. If you're looking for me, majority of what I will be doing is going to be here on the Fantasy Football Advice Network. I've got a show coming out every Monday through Friday, and then catch me after Biggs. Once Biggs is all tired up doing his start-sit questions on Sunday, I'm going to be rolling in there with
Spilled coffee.
Spilled coffee. There we go. It's a new edition.
You're having breakfast with Biggs. You spill your coffee, rolls right into Too Much Brian.
Just like my words there. Spilled them all over the place. But mainly on Twitter is where you're going to find me, at @too_much_Brian. You want to see what else I'm doing, find me there, and you'll find something.
So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We had people before the show. Love this show. Always good stuff. And we got Louis Gahn popping in. Mostert, Swift, or Madison running back for long-term PPR. And Gina, since you said you didn't want the questions and to not ask you, I'm gonna roll this first one your direction here. Mostert, Swift, or Madison running back long-term PPR for the season.
So you went here for me first. Is it? I mean, is this like I'm having technical difficulties? The hurricane's still coming through. If you lose me,
you can mulligan if you want. Biggs looks like he's ready to take it.
Yeah, I don't know. Mozart is already having like health issues, and I just don't know that I see him really doing much over there. Swift and Madison are just maybe Madison, but I make terrible fantasy decisions, so maybe Mozart. I don't know. I think I'd go Madison.
I'm going Mostert and Madison. Miami is a terrible situation. Swift just lost his job. Madison is good for a touchdown, and that's about it as a backup. He's not being more efficient than Zamir White. He's just getting the goal line touches. So I feel like if you want another Jamal Williams, then you go with Madison. Mostert should be back at some point, and when he and Achane are running together, they both do pretty well. It's just they're going to see some really heavy boxes. DeAndre Swift, I mean, he's not efficient. He's old at this point. They're not deploying him correctly, and Roshan Johnson's about to steal that bag. So I guess in that order, it's long-term Mostert, then Madison, then Swift.
Well, honestly, the nice thing is there's really no long-term answer with all these guys, because there's a good chance you're going to be dropping them 2 weeks later, picking up one of the others that's still there on waivers.
My first thought was waivers.
Yeah, I was going to say, how bare is the waivers if this is what we're working with? But all in all, I'd probably go Madison right now just because Zamir White's not doing anything. I think full PPR, he hasn't broke 7 points this year. It's absolutely it's horrible. My caveat would be, I know DeAndre Swift looks terrible in the actual run, but the Bears do have a favorable matchup coming up with Carolina, the Jags, and Washington. If they somehow turn him into the pass catching back and quit making him run the ball, I don't know if that's going to happen because I think Roshan's going to take over. But
Yeah.
I think I'm just kind of holding on to, like, maybe we get something from Swift, but Madison's probably my favorite out of the three.
All right, we got Chris coming in. I've been hanging on to Corum since the draft. Should I drop him for Braylon Allen?
Yes.
Why, Brian, should he drop him for Braylon Allen? Because you're shaking your head the entire length of the screen.
Yeah, man. Braylon Allen's getting action. Like, he's not only a handcuff like Corum is, but he's actually getting work. In 12-plus leagues, you're starting him, or you're flexing him. So he's getting plenty of action. I think this week he has a great opportunity just with Patrick Surtain putting the shadow all over Garrett Wilson. I think there's going to be a great chance. This running back room for the Jets are looking at over a 33% target share. I think it's only going to go up this week with Surtain covering Wilson.
Yeah, you must have been watching my show when I said it's going to be the Braylon Allen Breece Hall show.
Yeah. Watch it every day, Biggs.
Right now in PPR, he's RB29. That is absolutely a flex spot. And I mean, Blake Corum hasn't even gotten on the field, has he? And if anything happens to Breece Hall, we know what Braylon Allen is going to do. And I'm going to ask here, like I ask every show, why didn't the Cowboys take Braylon Allen as the first running back off the board? What is wrong with Jerry Jones? Sorry.
He just didn't want to run him back.
Right. He didn't want to win. He
was
didn't
going
want
back
a
to
good
the
roster.
early
He
2000s.
was waiting to find out he couldn't afford Derrick Henry and was going to re-sign Zeke. You know,
Crazy. Yeah, I'd go Braylon Allen.
Wendy getting
Wendy!
a little love. Hi, y'all. What's up, Wendy? Thanks for tuning in.
Oh,
I gotta get you
Wendy
on the
got
show.
eliminated in the Britt Flynn fantasy eliminator before me. So I outlasted Britt Flynn and Wendy. Now it's my turn to go out.
Wendy, DM me. We need to have you on the show. It'll be a blast. We got Louis popping in again. Should I go Diggs or Debo flex this week?
I'm always a little skeptical when a player comes back from injury that first play. Diggs has been doing pretty good. I don't know. I think I'd go Diggs over Debo at least for this first week and kind of let Debo get back in from injury. I mean, he was out for multiple weeks, so wasn't a little injury.
Debo's not guaranteed to be back on the field, and Stephon Diggs is roughly projected to have twice as many points as Debo right now. So I'm going Diggs too.
And Tank Dell's out of that game as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got Nico that's he said he's going to play, but he is struggling with a hamstring. So, when you talk about the healthy, like, go-to receiver for Stroud, like, Diggs has a ton of upside there, is really being the only fully healthy guy, even at running back, Like, people are talking about start Cam Akers this week because they're thin. They're thin on talent there. And, speaking of the Texans, and this is a question I've seen come up a lot, what are they doing at tight end? From a Dalton Schultz owner, right? Like we were like, okay, Dalton Schultz is going to exceed in this offense. And I mean, they're playing Brevin Jordan. They're playing
Quintorio.
They're playing Coker. Like they're playing everybody. Like they're going.
They pulled somebody out of the stands.
Yeah. They're going 2 tight end sets. Everybody's getting PT. I think. Let me pull it up. I want to say Schultz snap share. Like not this past week. This past week was a little bit better, but the week before he only got 70% of snaps for a guy that you really paid to be the dude. What the heck's going on?
Yeah, it's been incredibly frustrating as a Schultz owner this year because last year Schultz was a very serviceable tight end, and I feel like he did a good job and played his role. So I'm like, what happened here? I'm saying that a lot about tight ends this year, though. So he's not the only one.
I thought it was funny that he had a breakout season with Dallas and then got the bag from Houston and made the wrong choice.
Yeah. Although he's still getting paid. So
Right,
actually, you
right.
make the wrong choice.
Good point.
He's
That's a
getting
great
paid
point.
without having to play as much.
I mean,
Without having to be
he's
as
not getting
important.
injured.
Millie saying, "What's up, y'all?"
Millie Mills, always in the building.
Oh yeah, Millie's awesome. The Atlanta fan. So again, this show is sponsored by Fantasy Sports Advice Network and fantasysportsadvice.com. So, as we go through the show, we do flop over to the site and answer some questions that kind of came across there this week. There's a few really good ones. So I'm gonna run this video right here, and then we're gonna check it out.
We are here. We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com today. We are here.
Does anybody else find it ironic that Dan Mater is saying "we are here"? Sorry,
I wondered what happened to that.
we hope you're safe, Dan, and Schultze too. Schultze's in North Carolina as well, and they canceled the schools this morning, so we hope Schultze is good as well.
Oh, the school bus not pick him up this morning?
I think all of North Carolina was canceled today, whether they were getting hit with a hurricane or not.
Yeah.
My kids were canceled. It's pretty much just like hurricane shutdown.
So, question by JZA Mudio 24. I have Pittman, Sutton, Addison, and Leggett as wide receiver. I need 2 to start. Also have Akers, Irving. We'll need 2 for flex spots. Who do I start this week? So you got Pittman, Sutton, Addison, Leggett, Akers, and Irving. You got to pick 2 to start in your flexes.
Okay, so all of those guys, and then pick 2, not 2 wide receivers, like all of those.
Right, all of those. So you got 6 options here. Pick 2 to start in your flex.
Are there any others?
No, you have to pick from these.
I feel like maybe Akers would be one that I would start out of that group.
Yeah, I'd go Akers and Addison if it's up to me.
Yeah, Pittman has been scary bad this year, which, I mean, it's another like heartbreaker. Sutton, just Sutton about him.
Well, Sutton did have 11 targets for 7 receptions last week against Tampa Bay, 68 yards receiving. So it wasn't a big depth per target, right under 10 yards. But they're definitely looking at Sutton. That's a possible play for me. They are playing the Jets, which means he's going to get sauce on them. That's funny. He's going to get sauce on them. I didn't plan that. It just kind of happened. So I'm probably not actually leaning that way. I don't mind Addison. Pittman is inconsistent, as is Anthony Richardson. So yeah, it's pretty dry there.
Shots
probably
fired.
Addison.
Leggett would be interesting, and I think doesn't Deontay Johnson have a questionable tag right now?
He does, and between that and Thielen being on IR, Leggett was probably my third because he is interesting with Andy Dalton out there throwing passes.
Yeah, I feel like you could see him emerge a little bit. I mean, obviously it would be a gamble, but sometimes you got to bet big to win big.
Isn't that right, Biggs?
I slightly prefer Mingo in that offense, but I do like Leggett. And I like what Andy Dalton is doing. I do like what Dave Canales is doing as far as game planning. The Carolina Panthers offensive line is the leader in the NFL in creating clean pockets for their quarterback, which means that Andy Dalton is going to have time, no matter who's out there, to sit back and drop dimes. So I'm big on all the Carolina receivers going forward at this point.
Andy Dalton changes everything. You know,
Yeah, somehow.
what does that say about Bryce Young? Is Bryce, in fact, like, just is he a bust? Like, are we done on Bryce if Andy Dalton comes in and performs that way? You know, where do you sit? I mean, so many people took him like top 3 in their rookie, dynasty drafts. Are we out?
Yeah, Carolina took him first overall. How bad was that a whiff? I think he just can't see over the offensive line because he's too short. I'm not trying to say that as a joke.
Brees, and what's his face didn't have an issue with that. Not Brees.
Drew Brees.
Drew Brees, yeah.
Russell Wilson.
He didn't have an issue, and they were like the same size.
I think Drew Brees was an inch taller, but he would jump. I don't know. It's just Bryce Young is bad, and the proof is in what happened last week. Immediately, Andy Dalton gets plugged in, and they go off. So, yeah, I'm so out on. I wasn't even in on Bryce as a rookie. I had hopes that Canales was going to do something and fix him, and when Canales gives up on you, that's not good.
Yeah. So pop back over to the fantasy foot, and we got another doozy from Jay Zamudio 24. He said, just a trade. Najee, Terry, Kincaid, and Myers. So this is a pretty big trade, actually. For Kamara, Addison, Pitts, and Sutton. What a trade. I'm never get like into 4-player trades. Like, it's just too much for me.
Yeah.
Brian, what do you think? Najee, Terry, Kincaid, Myers, Kamara, Addison, Pitts, Sutton. Which side do you want?
I think I'm taking the Kamara side pretty easily.
Any difference?
Hang on. Let me get back in on my normal camera.
No, I love this angle of you.
Does Terry, does the Terry's performance this last week and how him and Jaden Daniels connected, does that give you any excitement? Because when I look at the other side, when I look at the Sutton, Addison, Pitts, what I'm lacking is a big time receiver. Even I would say Myers has been performing, in line with those, if not better than an Addison or a Sutton. The big jump is if you want a Kamara over Najee versus a Terry over somebody else. Is that where your assessment on that kind of lies, or is it just somebody else that really jumps at you?
I like the Najee Harris, Terry McLaurin, Dalton Kincaid, Jacoby Myers side. I know that Alvin Kamara is a smash, but I still like that side just for consistency. That side seems like it has a higher floor.
Yeah, it's all about the averages, and I feel like on average you're getting better like average scores out of those players versus you've got Kamara putting up huge numbers, but then the other ones are a little bit like, yeah.
You can say suspect.
Sus. Total sus. Speaking of sus, I just looked up Scott Fishbowl scoring and I was 3901.
Jeez.
Out of 3959. Like, if you can't be the winner, be the absolute loser.
You beat me.
Oh, I'm worse than you.
No. I mean, you had more points this week than me.
Oh. Well, we're there together.
Yeah, you had a pretty rough week there. It's hard to finish. I feel like it's harder to finish in the bottom 6 than it is to finish in the top, 6.
That's what I was trying to tell Amber, who was like number 15. I was like, I did way better than you.
I'm going with that.
That's funny. All right, let me pop back over here. We got another one, and this came from Corey. Let's see. So Corey said, who should I flex in half-point PPR this week? Ramondre, Zay, Bucky, Akers, or Shaheed?
That one's tough. I'm fading Zay this week. Their matchup is not great. Buffalo.
Shaheed might get leaned on really heavily if Olave's out. Popped up with a hamstring injury today, which really could throw some things off. So he might have the highest ceiling of all of them. Cam Akers has a great lineup or great game against the Jags. They're right now 28th against the running back, giving up 25.6 points to the position throughout the first 3 weeks. So I think I'd probably lean one of those two.
Yeah, Ramondre got stuffed this past week, and then he's got San Fran coming up this week. So I'm not going there. I like the Shaheed play.
Yeah, me too. The Niners' run defense is about average, and they're not. It's just New England's not really going to be able to get much going. So yeah, I like the Shaheed call too.
Yeah, I think I'm really bad about recency bias, and Shaheed having like a big fat 0 last week was. I wanted to put him in timeout, but I'm trying really hard to not do that because he's very.
Let me tell you, Rashid Shaheed, I was high on coming in as his third-year breakout. And first week in my home league, I sat him. Second, and he scored like 16 points. Second week, I sat him. He scored like 20 points. Third week, I'm like, all right, it's Rashid Shaheed time. Throw him in, goose egg. I lose by 12 points. My opponent had a devastated lineup from injuries, but he had Juwan Jennings in. So I do this thing. Rashid Shaheed is my personal Gabe Davis. I put him on the bench. He scores. I put him in the lineup. He gets nothing. So I took him out of the lineup this week. So Rashid Shaheed owners, you're blessed.
He's going to blow up. Yeah. Play him.
So Gina, nice little tip. I usually take my guys all out of the starting lineup on Tuesday. You put them all on the bench. You make them all sit there and think about they're going to have to earn that starting position each week. And it's a nice mental game for them. I know they're playing harder on the field because they know they want that starting roster spot on my team.
I like it. I'm really hard on my boys. They need to perform. And I'm just like, you're out. You're out.
So we got Lupe Gonzalez popping in. Start 3 wide receivers, full PPR. McLaurin, Biggs, your guy, Trey Tucker, Deontay Johnson, Leggett, or Michael Wilson. Who you going? You got to pick 3.
I'm going McLaurin, Deontay, Michael Wilson.
Anybody different?
I like Trey Tucker this week. I don't know why. I'm feeling him. I don't know. I got a feeling.
So who would you play him over? Not that one, sorry. Who would you play him over? McLaurin, Johnson, or Michael Wilson?
Well, Johnson remains to be seen on the injury. But if what is his injury? What do we know?
Hammy?
Yeah, see, hamstrings scare me because you can get out there and start playing and boom, you're out. So you are taking a risk, even if he's good to play.
It's a groin, still soft tissue.
Ooh,
but it's not
that one's
quite
bad
as bad.
Too. But isn't that what kept no, Aaron Jones? Somebody had a groin injury and it was like all year long, and it was somebody.
Yeah,
big.
those still can linger, so I'm still not like I think we're out of.
So
the
I don't
here.
know. I might go over. I mean, I really like Deontay Johnson since Andy Dalton came back, but that could have been a fluke too. I just feel like with Adams out, Trey Tucker takes a little bit of a step forward this week, coming off of like a big game last week.
Well, let me just correct you on something, okay? The red rifle is not a fluke. The red rifle will never be a fluke. Okay?
Deontay Johnson was maybe the fluke. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you.
All of a sudden, Carolina went, oh, we have a quarterback. What is this? Everybody was in denial going, oh, it's the O-line. Oh, he can't. And then Andy Dalton just comes up and just puts it out there. And everybody's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, especially against Cincinnati. And reports are that he's more than likely to play. So it's just a bothersome thing. But Cincinnati they allow 5.9 points to slot receivers, so that takes care of Leggett, and 20.1 points per game to wideouts. And then on top of that, we're looking at Where to go? Carolina Panthers. They're basically average against the pass. They're supposed to be 22 points scored. Deontay Johnson's likely going to have a touchdown. I like the Deontay Johnson play. I love Trey Tucker. Like, he's in my heart. I think that he's better with Aiden O'Connell. And if I'm not mistaken, I turned off that game in the third quarter. If I'm not mistaken, his touchdown pass was from O'Connell. So I have zero faith in the mustache.
Minshew.
Yeah.
Minshew.
Don't listen to me. I mean, go with Deontay Johnson. I make terrible decisions. So
All right, Brian, we'll throw the next one to you. T Money says, should I go Myers, J-Mo, Ford, or Worthy, or Mooney in my last flex spot?
ooh, I kind of like Myers this week. I mean, I like Mooney too, but Myers for me, probably. I've been out on Worthy.
All this Raider love tonight. What is this? Come on.
I know.
Myers, Trey
I
Tucker?
don't.
You're sitting there rocking the Broncos
sorry.
jersey. I think it's
I'm
like
the one
covert
hating on the
stuff.
Raiders.
I don't do like bias on any teams. Like, it's not that I love the Raiders. I just look at the facts and I'm like, okay, like if this guy's putting up points, I'm playing him. I don't care what team he plays on.
What's really funny is look at this. He's got DK, Chase, and CD starting. I don't know
Nice.
how you got Chase and CD both
This
in a
has to be
draft.
dynasty,
But-
right?
Or you draft early enough in August when there's still all those contract concerns with CD. CD could have fallen possibly.
You would have had to been at the turn. It would have had to
Yeah.
been at the turn on like a 10-team league.
Yeah, on a team or on a league who loves running backs.
So anybody, I mean, you got a different take? Are we going Myers? Are we going Mooney? Him and Kirk have been heating up. Worthy, we've seen Mahomes has been looking for him. They're trying to get him involved continuously. Jerome Ford had a down week, but that Cleveland offense is just
I worry. So that game's got the lowest over under out of all of those. It looks like it's that Kansas City game, and that's kind of what I worry about, especially if Herbert's out for this game or he gets hampered at all. They're not going to need to score a lot in this game, so I
Carson
don't know.
Steele, baby.
But Worthy, all he needs is one end around from in the backfield to score. So I think he's going to be like that wide receiver 3 with that touchdown upside. For me, I think it comes down to probably Jamison Williams or Mooney, in that. Again, it's a lower over under than I wanted for the Saints Falcons game, but I think that we get to get some magic. There's always a little bit of magic comes out of Kirk Cousins when he's not in prime time. And then of course you got J-Mo. Bad game last week. We get a little bit of a bounce back this week. Was it Tampa?
I really hope that if the Saints can go back to scoring big points, I think Mooney can have a huge game, because that's when Kirk really starts looking Mooney's way, is like when they need to score points. Like I feel like he's looking at it more than anybody else and continuing to try to get him the ball to get it downfield. That's definitely a strong take there. It's just going to kind of depend on game script, because it could easily also not be high scoring, because the Saints and Falcons divisional game, they tend to play each other tough.
And if Olave's out, then the Saints might really struggle on offense outside of just Kamara.
Yeah, and I don't like the matchup for J-Mo. Seattle's pass defense is super, super tough. I think I'm just trying to replace Devontae Adams' targets with Jacoby Myers as he moves out of the slot and out wide, and Cleveland tends to give up lots of fantasy points out wide. Mooney would be my next call out of the slot. That game could get really ugly, and he could see a lot of targets in that as well. And I'm not a Worthy fan. I think he's great in best ball.
So moving through, we got War Eagle coming in on Twitch. Make sure you like and follow our Twitch channel if you haven't. Make sure you're like and subscribe to the YouTube. We are moving. But War Eagle coming in. Who should I start? Pick 2 wide receiver and 2 wide receivers and a flex. MHJ, JSN, McLaurin, Tyreek, Hubbard, and Shakir. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 3 wide receivers here.
typically that's what I like to do is I fill my flex with wide receivers just because they have the most upside. And Cincinnati's run defense is about average. But I still love the McLaurin JD connection. MHJ you have to go with, and JSN. He's that I feel like that's going to be a pretty big shootout between Detroit and Seattle. So I like him to get I like him to get a bunch of targets.
You're gonna sit Tyreek?
Tyreek's
Absolutely.
had a rough 2 weeks. Tyreek hadn't scored over 7 fantasy points.
I know it
in the
just
last
seems
2 weeks.
crazy to put Tyreek Hill on the bench. It just seems a little crazy.
I mean,
he draws L'Jarius Sneed this week too.
Yeah, he had six targets against Buffalo, 3 catches for 24 yards. He had 5 targets against Seattle, 3 catches for 40 yards. Now this week he does have a softer matchup in Tennessee-ish, but still, I mean, who's going to be throwing him the ball? Like you, it's a weird thing to say, bench Tyreek, but that's kind of where it's at.
It's very weird. It feels very weird. But in Dynasty,
crazy.
I'm really glad that I got off of him last year because I didn't have to. Of course, I traded him for Devontae Adams.
Well, I will say this: like Tyreek, though,
That's a
like
definite zero.
if the
Yeah.
quarterback situation wasn't the quarterback situation, then he would be a lot more apt to be a value. But when you're playing with QB3 and a half banged up QB2, like here and there, it's going to be tough. You can't really get the ball downfield. So Brent Bradford coming in. Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, Brent. Higgins, Pickens, or Debo off injury? I need 2. I can tell you this. And I got offered several offers for Higgins this week, and I feel like the expectations if you're a Higgins owner is that you didn't watch the game, right? Like if you didn't watch the game, you would say, oh, Higgins had a poor performance back from injury. If you did watch the game, you go, Higgins got 3 targets in the end zone, caught 2 of them slightly out of bounds, and he got another red zone target on a 2-point conversion. Like Burrow was looking for him in the end zone. So I mean, am I off being on Higgins?
No, not at all. And when you kind of break down the matchup, Carolina gives up 26 points per game to outside wide receivers, and Indy is almost that bad at 24.6. So it's Higgins and Pickens, and I don't have any trust in Debo. I mean, that's normally the case, but especially this week.
I think I'd go Higgins and Pickens too. Partly because it rhymes, but
Brian, you're the one over there like gritting your teeth, like you just feel differently. Tell us about.
The only thing that makes me hesitant, and of course it's social media, so you hate to like buy into like, oh shit, this is why I'm hesitant. But I don't know if y'all saw the video of T. Higgins today going into the building. Some kid yells out, "Hey T, should I start you this week?" and goes off to something to the extent of "No, sit me," or like "No, you shouldn't be playing me," something like that. So I don't know. The guy's still playing for a contract. They're an 0-3 team. He could be playing for money right now, and he could be. I don't know. It scares the hell out of me because this guy has a reputation of screwing you on the field when it comes to injuries and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm a long-term T. Higgins. I draft him every year in one of my leagues. I always do. I love T. Higgins so much, and he loves to hurt me, but it's okay. I buy back into it.
It sounds like a bad relationship. Like
we need to work through this, Brian. I feel like there's some real deep-seated issues here, but the king of sarcasm is over here going, he said, "No, sit me." Like that couldn't have been sarcastic.
It's just
throwing that out there.
Your tendency to be attracted to abusive codependency is coming off really, really strong right now.
What? Because Kamara's that bad of a guy? It was a misunderstanding. Okay.
T. Higgins bothered me for so long that this was the year that like I finally have no shares, but I do like him in this game. I think it's going to be pretty high scoring, and we all know that Joe Burrow is best when he's got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins on the field with him.
Yeah. And Brian just needs a hug.
Look, I'm putting
And a
the link
shelter.
in the
He
chat.
needs a shelter.
He does.
So
Don't
T
check
Money
it out.
does get
came in
better.
and said the question earlier. He said he got CD in the draft. He bought low on Chase after week 2. So
Smooth.
Smooth.
Love it, T-Money.
good job, T Money. T Money in the house.
Yeah.
Okay, need 2 for flex. Ramondre, Reed, Mooney, or Lockett.
I think I'd go Reed and Mooney.
I'm going Reed and Lockett.
Ew, Lockett?
Yeah.
I don't think I have any Lockett anywhere. Ever.
I don't, but there's a method to my madness. So looking into Seattle and their matchup, where'd it go?
That game smells like disappointment.
He's invisible to me. Can I just tell you, when I see him, he's invisible. Never.
You know, he had 8 targets last week. I mean, he
Right.
had 7 the first game. He had 8 last week. He had that fluke game where he had 2, but he did only get 56% of snaps last week. So on 56% of snaps, he got 8 targets. They play Detroit this week, who may be missing Brian Branch.
Okay, and Detroit gives up 22.8 points per game to wide receivers in the slot and 21.5 points per game to outside wide receivers. So
and y'all are talking about the wide receiver that hasn't broken 20 points on the season, right? That's who we're talking about?
Yeah, but what I'm going to get to is that the way that they've been deploying this offense, the Ryan Grubb offense, is they have moved Tyler Lockett into the slot, and he's doing the short routes this year, and JSN and DK are handling the intermediate and the deep routes. So they can be peppering Tyler Lockett, and Detroit's defense against slot wide receivers is the second worst in the league. So I had him on our start sit show. I said that Tyler Lockett was a start for me this week. Who were the other guys that were up there?
It was Ramondre, Reed, Mooney, and Lockett.
And you got to go with Jaden Reed, especially if Jordan Love is playing. If he's not, then I would go to Mooney.
All right.
This is data driven, Brian. Data driven.
Hey,
I'm not just
Data's
coming
been
off
driving
the
a
top
lot
of
of
the
losses.
dome.
Brian's over there got the itch.
I got charts and graphs.
Zero data. You'll never see me look up a stat. I just am like, let's do this.
Good.
We're doing this.
Hey, I love
Right
that.
from the hip.
You lose with your gut. I lose with my data.
You're losing harder than me, though.
I know. Well,
Step away from the data.
I'm talking about not fishbowl leagues. There was no data there.
Yeah,
All
that's
right,
a whole different animal.
CJ coming in with a quick start sit question. Let's see how quick it is, CJ. Odunze, Pittman, Michael Wilson, and Addison need to start 3.
Everybody but Addison.
Everybody but Pittman.
Yeah, I'm out on
Oh,
him.
I read that as Pickens. Oh,
It is a
terrible.
Pittman.
Is Addison even going to play?
Yes, I think he is healthy.
What I've seen, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he does not carry an injury designation. Like, I think he's
That's right. They did
healthy.
post that notification today.
Yeah, Joey Porter Jr. on Pittman is going to be ugly. So I'm sitting Pittman.
All right. So we're sitting Pittman. We're going Dunze, Wilson, and Addison on the start 3. We're going to go back over to fantasysportsadvice.com. And, of course, we already know how one of these players hit. But, the question was RB2, 12-man PPR, Dowdle or Roschon. So, going into the game, we saw Dowdle. Dowdle goes, caught a receiving touchdown, finishes with around 46 yards rushing, 1 catch for 15 yards and a touchdown, around 13 fantasy points. Biggs, I saw you on YouTube, you're short, and on TikTok pumping up Roschon.
Yeah.
Does Roschon exceed for players this week? And this is not for that guy, obviously, but for players that are considering grabbing Roschon off waivers or maybe throwing him in over a Zamir White or over a Ramondre or something like that. Does he exceed the 13-point mark this week.
I think so, especially if what the Bears said. I dang it, I needed to look at the coach speak index. But they said that they were going to give him an extended look. Ostensibly, he won the job. Like they're going to be running him as the RB1. It's a really, really good matchup. The LA Rams are not good against the run. They give up the third or fourth most yards against running backs in the NFL. They're not great against the pass either. So I see targets for Roschon. I see like nice up the middle runs for him. I'm huge on Roschon this week. I think this is his. He's been given the opportunity. Go out there and show us that you're our RB1, and I think he's going to take the reins.
What do you think? Anybody else? You think? I mean, we're plus 13. If 13 is the line, you're going the over.
Yeah, I'm going over. Yeah.
All right. I'm not dissing. I always thought so. I took Roschon in a ton of dynasty leagues.
Yeah.
I thought he was good. I thought he went in and could, obviously competed for touches and earned touches in an offense that featured Bijan Robinson, right? Yeah. And he was effective for Texas, especially when Bijan goes down. He goes in. He takes a pretty heavy workload, stays pretty healthy through that workload. So you see the things that you want to see, like in a running back, like you see diversity in play style, you see the ability to handle a heavy workload and ability to be a feature back. And so he goes to the Bears, which had an awful offensive line, and still are not great. But, we knew, I knew what Swift was. I have never been a Swiftie, or a DeAndre Swift guy. He just can't stay healthy. He's not always super effective. And so I really bought in on Roschon, even as a rookie, with the possibility of him becoming the guy. And, it feels like for running backs, especially if you play dynasty fantasy, it's taking them, it's almost like the tight end position. It's taking them a little bit longer to actually land in that place where they are effective. I mean, you look at Braylon Allen now, he's already having a place, but where will he be a year from now? Or, you see, Roschon finally getting his shot. You see, Dowdle finally getting his shot. Like we're seeing that changeover. But I really like Roschon. I thought that he should have been the focal point of that offense, period. Like as far as a running back goes. I'm a little worried that the O-line's still not that great, but at least they actually have to line up and cover the pass. They can't just throw 8 in the box every freaking down, which gives Roschon some room.
The other thing about Roschon is that he has pass catching ability. He did exceed Bijan in some metrics. He was better at certain box adjusted efficiency ratings and things like that. And then he can catch passes. He can be a 3-down back. He came into a Bears situation where David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert were the veterans ahead of him. Then Montgomery leaves. They go out and get Swift for this year. And they haven't taken a chance on him. He comes into the season. He's hurt. He misses the first 2 games, doesn't even suit up. And then his first chance, he goes out last week and out efficiencies DeAndre Swift, out targets them, out touches Khalil Herbert, and suddenly he's thrust into this position where it's like, okay, young buck, go do it. And I think he's gonna. He could ask for seeing the Indianapolis Colts in his first audition, but going up against the run defense in the Rams is going to be. I think it's going to help him a lot. He's gonna be good, you guys. I'm looking at my fantasy portfolio, and he is my number 1 most owned player, not just running back, player. So I love me some Roschon.
All right, we got Millie Mills popping back in. Was Kamara being limited, or was it just vet maintenance last week? Is the dude actually hurt? I'm not, I'm not on the injury show, Biggs. I know you guys do an injury show. Brian, you've talked about it. I mean, what's the deal? Is he hurt? Were they just trying to rest him in a not huge game? I mean, he's still got. I mean, they didn't really rest him. He got 26 attempts or 26 rushes last game. He had a 3.3 yard average per carry. Only went for 87, but he got 26 rushes. He got 3 targets, 3 receptions for 40 yards. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I don't really think he got rest. I think that was the most carries he's got all season.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to get 6 touchdowns a game every game.
No. And also Saquon Barkley is off his pace of 55.5 touchdowns or 55 touchdowns. Okay. Alvin Kamara. I'm going to reveal this. This is a reveal, but I'm only going to do it if you all out there in Watcherland promise that you're going to watch the Fantasy Forecast injury show when it drops tomorrow, because of all the other stuff. But in talking to Marcus, basically, we're not worried about Kamara. It's like it's what happens with veterans. They tend to not practice. Kamara doesn't need to keep practicing the playbook and develop the rapport with Derek. All that stuff is in place. Veteran maintenance is exactly what it should, the way that we should look at it, and he's going to be fine.
Yep.
I agree. So we mentioned it a little bit earlier, but Millie came in and he's asking again, thoughts on Braylon Allen. Obviously, they're featuring Breece, but we are seeing a lot more Braylon Allen, and we're seeing him in scoring opportunities. But you consistently are seeing the first game was an 18% snap share. Then the last 2 games, he's been in the 35% snap share range. But the big surprise for him being a 6'1", 235-pound running back was that he was catching touchdowns, or he was catching passes. Rodgers targeted him 3 times last game, 4 times the game before. He got a receiving touchdown and a rushing touchdown against Tennessee. Obviously, New England was a little bit different, but Denver coming up, Minnesota, Buffalo, Pittsburgh. I don't love the line of teams that he's going to be facing coming up. But thoughts on Braylon Allen as a dynasty asset maybe, or going into the season? Are you trying to sell him right now, or do you think this guy could be a league winner come into the season? What's your thoughts, Brian?
I mean, I touched on it a little bit ago. I'm all in. I mean, I say all in. I'm just getting excited for the guy. Trying not to be hyperbolic here, but I love Braylon Allen. So excited for him in the draft process. Biggs kind of touched on the disappointment that he passed all of these great landing spots, and he fell to one of the worst landing spots, behind Breece Hall. He will be stuck there for the entirety of his rookie contract behind Breece Hall. It's maddening, but as far as league winner, absolutely. Breece Hall goes down, Braylon Allen will be the guy. He can clearly do it. He's bigger than Breece Hall is. He's just a monster. He's a 20-year-old, barely a man that could just rock me to sleep. And I'd love him to do, 20. Yeah, I'd have to sneak him into the bar to go have a good time with the guy. We'd be, it's just no good. But what
That's illegal. We don't condone that.
No, so he needs to be rocked to sleep at night. He's not rocking you. He's a baby.
Yeah, well, he's big enough to. He's a large fella. I mean, I'm long and lanky, so I'd be drooping over. But
faithful fans of the Fantasy Forecast, that's fun to say. Faithful fans of the Fantasy Forecast on Fantasy Football Advice Network will know that Braylon Allen was my RB1 going into the 2024 NFL Draft, and my number 1 RB prospect even after the draft, considering his terrible landing spot. But this is the one thing that you need to know about Braylon Allen, besides the fact that he works out with Derrick Henry. He's 235 pounds. He's only 20 years old. He's essentially the Malik Neighbors of dynasty running backs right now. We know Aaron Rodgers. He's an old codger. He's 40 years old. He's an old man. And we know his reputation with rookies, right? He hates rookies. Rookies have to prove it to Aaron Rodgers that he deserves their A, respect, and B, him to fold them in to the offensive process. And it takes a lot. We've seen good rookies like Devontae Adams go to Green Bay or go to an Aaron Rodgers situation, and he doesn't trust them. He makes them earn their keep. He trusts Braylon Allen. He talks up Braylon Allen. He's already bought in on Braylon Allen. And I mean, I don't need anything more than that. But I got to get out of here. Follow me at Big Boned at FFB. Watch all the fantasy forecast shows and come find me Sunday morning on Breakfast with Biggs. Thanks for having me on, Tyler.
No problem. We're going to actually round out the show right here. Millie Mills said King Henry's been a star for him. Got to start him against the Bills, and Amon-Ra against Seattle. Wish me luck. Good luck, Millie. We always hope you guys win and are excited. Make sure you check out fantasysportsadvice.com and sign up and follow these great people. You got Brian here with us all the time at Too Much Brian. You got Gina all over Facebook. And, Gina, how are you doing in the Queen's Ransom League?
Actually, I'm doing pretty good in there. I was like, okay, which one? No, I hold on. Let me look real quick. I actually am. I'm doing all right. I'm holding my own at least in one league this year, and that's one of them. I think I'm actually up against Amber this week. I am. Yeah, 2-1. So
okay.
I mean, I'm not a total loser. I think I'm like in 4th. Nah, I'm dropped down to 7th. But I'm doing all right. I don't hate that team, so it's okay. It's okay. A season left.
Well, again, thanks so much for tuning in. Appreciate it. We'll see you next week, 9:00 from the forum. Tune in. It'll be a good time. We'll see you.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to Fantasy Sports